Never take criticism from someone you wouldn't go to for advice. Men of the world, what is one piece of advice you would like to give other men? Don't put off life because you're waiting for a girlfriend. I was guilty of this myself when I was younger. And I have a friend who was like, I'd like to travel, but that's something that's more fun to do with a girlfriend. Nah, man. Just go see the world. It's fun going with friends, but solo travel is still a lot of fun. You get to do cool things. Just live life without waiting for others. Learn to cook for you and your friends. Or just yourself. Discover nice restaurants by yourself or with pals. If there's stuff you've been putting off doing in life because you're waiting to do that with a girlfriend, do it. Go to the movie you want to see, take the dance class you wanted to take, tour that museum, take that cooking class, do that with your friends or by yourself. Don't wait for others to be happy. Somebody replied, I hate that society is based on relationships and doing things with a girlfriend or boyfriend. I know, humans are social creatures. But that does not mean that doing things that make you happy without a girlfriend or boyfriend is bad. Also, about traveling or simply doing things with your friends. I think people also see this as a no-no and I don't understand it one bit. I once traveled with a friend, we were on a coastal area and there was so much to see. We had a small motorcycle, kind of a Vespa. This friend of mine was going through a hard time because his girlfriend left him 2 months prior. Whenever we did something nice and enjoyed a little moment, he always added, I wish I could have a girlfriend to do this with. He literally killed my vibe with one swift move. I still tried to enjoy my days because life is so unpredictable and you can't be sure if you can see those beautiful places once again. I don't care who was with me when I think that way. I don't judge these kind of people. Society is very couple friendly. But waiting to make something valuable to you because you don't have a significant other is awful. Do you want to see somewhere? See it. Don't wait for no one. You will feel much better in the long run if you don't lose yourself in relationships by being too invested and dependent. And if you fail to keep your independence, the relationship will most likely fail as well. You are not the main character in anyone's story but your own. What does this mean? 2 main things: take care of yourself and your goals, because at the end of the day it is your life. Be patient with other people, because you don't know what they are going through. It also means you shouldn't worry too much about minor interactions that might have been awkward. Many things don't leave that big of an impression. Somebody replied, this is so important to remember. What you said to your colleague or friend 3 years ago that you've been lamenting over all this time is not important to them. We criticize ourselves so much over our small misgivings, but to others, it's just not significant enough for them to hold on to. Pick 3 people in your life and try to remember a time they all did something really embarrassing. I guarantee you can't do it. Or at the very least, I'll bet you had to think really, really hard. Do what you like now. Don't wait until something happens before you do what you like. Being enthusiastic, punctual, and ready to learn will open so many doors that you'll be dizzy. I will work hard to help someone with those 3 qualities. They are of enormous value to me. Check for cancer of the gemstones. Feel them one at a time, holding each one between your thumbs and rolling it around gently between your fingers. Feel for hard lumps, smooth or round bumps, or changes in shape and size. If you think you feel any of that, go see a urologist. You can also just look up proper cancer self-examination to get a better picture. Somebody replied, see your GP or specialist if you feel something unusual. 1 in 10 times guys have a benign cyst, but 1 in 100 of those could be cancer. I met so many men in my process who just sat on it and didn't seek help until it had already spread to other parts of their body too. They say if you have any kind of cancer, this is the easiest to sort out if you catch it early enough. I was lucky. I had a small cyst develop on one and went to see my GP immediately. I had ultrasound the next day who found the small cyst, but also found something else unusual in the middle of one of the ball that wasn't linked. Was then sent for a more detailed CT scan. Referred to a specialist to review the results in a couple of days of that. And was in surgery within 8 days of first seeing the GP. This was of course all pre-covered, and also in New Zealand with mostly free healthcare for this type of thing. I had the left removed. The biopsy later showed it as a stage 1 seminoma, about 12 millimeters, 1/2 inch, diameter. It had likely been growing for about a year. But if it wasn't for the tiny unrelated cyst on the surface, there's no way I would have had an ultrasound or expected anything amiss until it would have spread critically to other areas. No radiotherapy or chemo needed as it was caught so early, and centrally placed with a clear boundary. Lots of regular tests were done for the next 5 years but still all negative results. So don't hesitate, seek help, and don't just sit on a lump pretending it's nothing. Stay humble, kill your enemies with kindness, and respect others. You can always learn something from anyone. Don't speak, listen. Stay away from girls who believe in astrology. Get over yourself and schedule a prostate exam. I knew 3 men, 2 of whom were fathers who would still be alive if they had just had a poke up the butt. You don't even need a poke up the bottom these days. They worked out my dad had prostate cancer from his blood work in his yearly work medical. The same is true for colorectal cancer. Somebody replied, at my last physical, the doctor asked me if I wanted to get a colonoscopy. She warned me that it was going to cost $30 or $35, which is not covered by provincial or private insurance. Despite the cost, I decided that it was worth it because of course it's worth finding out if I have cancer before it becomes a problem. If you're feeling depressed, speak out. It doesn't make you weak like you think it does. Somebody replied, there's a reason men hesitate to come out with their problems. People say they want open and honest communication, but they still want men to be stoic heroes. It's hard enough already for too many men to get up onto that pedestal, so taking a risk that could see them fall from it is terrifying. And since I know someone's going to say, well, they should learn to not care what other people think of them. Not caring when you have a loving spouse, children, a career you love, and your own house is way different from not caring when you live in a terrible little run-down thin-walled apartment alone, or in your mother's basement. One instance of not caring is born from confidence, the other is giving up. Paddy the Baddy said it best, don't be afraid to talk, and even more importantly, just listen to what others have to say. Everyone needs ears. Everyone needs a shoulder to cry on. We aren't weak for having feelings, we are just human. I would rather you cry on my shoulder than go to your funeral next week. Comparison is the thief of joy. Strive to be content. Honestly, I uninstalled my Instagram when I realized I felt legitimately sad whenever I scrolled through the people I follow and saw how they were living their lives. I cannot just switch off the urge to compare and feel down because of it. But I figure not being able to see it helps. Somebody replied, remember that you're only seeing people's highlight reels when they post on social media. That is not their life. You're watching their fake highlight reels. Even if they went to some gorgeous island in the South Pacific, you're not seeing their 20 hours of travel, the mess and trash on the beaches, the people bugging you to buy their junk, etc. You get the photoshopped beach photos and filtered photos of their faces smiling. Did they have a good time? Probably, yeah. But dear God, we fake things on social media. Never take criticism from someone you wouldn't go to for advice. Morgan Freeman. Don't cut conversations with your dad short. You don't know how much you'll miss them until you can't have them. I've only talked to my dad 3 times, twice as an adult. He was so inebriated that he probably didn't remember calling me the next day. I don't even know how he got my number. He died alone in an apartment in his early 50s because he was a diabetic who drank enough to slip into a coma. Eventually, the apartment complex cleaned out his meager possessions because no one else did. Apparently, he had a picture of me as a toddler on his nightstand, which is the last time he saw me. It's perfectly okay to reach out to a buddy if you're not doing well mentally. My husband is always there for his friends, but he hesitates to reach out to them. And sometimes I can't help with the things he's struggling with. So I've started reaching out to his friends for him. I'll just say, hey, he's having a rough time. Does anyone want to have a guys' night? Then one of them will call and invite him over. Once he's with them, he'll open up. Thankfully, he has an amazing group of friends that always take care of each other. Just because you have a solution doesn't mean it's the only solution. Never be afraid to admit your mistakes. Even more, be the first to admit them. Don't wait for someone to point it out. Also, never lie. Lie only in a joking manner when playing, and make it obvious you're lying. People will know you are the one who admits mistakes and never lies because you're easily spotted. Now, no one will ever question you when you lie, and you do it well, in something really important. Use this wisely and only for really important things. I've made this a life lesson. I have a reputation as someone who owns up to their mistakes, and I have owned up to many absolute complete messes in my years. But, there have been times when I just didn't want to for whatever reason, and I just say if it was me I'd tell you, and people kind of shrug and go, he would. But, the thing about this is if you do get caught out, no one will ever believe you again, so it needs to be used in situations where the mistake doesn't really matter. You need to own the big things, unfortunately. Somebody replied, "This is good advice, but I feel like this should be expanded on a bit." Unlike most other skills, the key to lying well is to lie as little as possible. Strive to establish a genuine reputation as an honest person so that on those rare situations when you do lie, even if people suspect that you are, they won't question it as much as they're more likely to assume you're lying for a good reason. Which you hopefully are if you're actually following this advice. The priority here should be to establish a genuine reputation, with emphasis on the genuine part of that, as an honest person, and the best way to do that is to simply be honest with people. While one of the quickest ways to ensure people don't trust you is to lie about frivolous things. Here's some examples off the top of my head for someone trying to follow this advice. The next time a friend hits you up to go out and you really just want to sit at home alone and chill, don't tell them you have other plans or make some kind of excuse. Just tell them you're not feeling like it and would rather spend time alone for now. State your honest opinion when asked about it. Don't try and make it sound better or worse or more in line with what other people think. Similarly, don't hesitate to admit when you don't have an opinion on something, and don't feel like you need to have an opinion on everything. Also, it can help to be upfront about when an opinion you have is potentially somewhat uninformed. You often gain nothing from hiding your ignorance, but admitting to it and being willing to learn can go a long way towards being a more honest person with a reputation for such. That said, you should also try and learn to feel out when it's better to not state your opinion. This doesn't mean you should make one up or lie. Sometimes it's best to simply say nothing or state that you'd rather keep your opinion to yourself for the time being. Use your best judgment. When you do feel compelled to lie, try and contemplate about whether it's really worth doing so. What are you really likely to gain or avoid from the lie? What do you stand to lose if you're found out? This is something that will get easier as you do it more, but the key here is to always, and I mean always, be honest with yourself. As a seasoned man, my best piece of advice is to be polite to everyone. It costs nothing, and it's one of the few things that people remember. One more thing, listening. If you can give someone your undivided attention for just a few minutes, you become a hero. My brother-in-law said something about politeness once that really stuck with me. Being polite is the easiest way to find out who is nice and who is an asshole. If you are an asshole and someone is an asshole back, you don't really know if they are actually an asshole or not. But if you are nothing but polite and someone is an asshole back, you know that they are. Then you can either avoid them or punch them in the face. Either way. Take care of your lower back before it becomes a problem. And when it's too late, take care of your back. Too many people I know just walk it off, or say it'll get better. No, it won't. Your normal activities have allowed it to degenerate down to where it went ping. The next step is a slipped disc, or a herniated disc, or a stenosed intervertebral foramen, and a collapsing vertebrae. You want to know what would have fixed that, back when your back let you know by going ping? Taking care of your back. Before getting married, learn to do everything by yourself. It will save you tons of drama. If you need your significant other to teach or coach you on how to exist as an adult, doing chores, raising kids, maintaining a home, etc., then both of you are going to have a bad time. Learn to cook, clean, and manage your life. It always makes sense to be as independent as possible. This goes for women too. It always takes a toll on friends when people get divorced or split up and don't know how to do basic things because they have some old idea of something being a woman's or man's task. No wonder they split up. You need to be able to take care of yourself before you can take care of anyone else. I like to help out as much as I can, but it's ridiculous how many grown-up women can't put a screw in a wall or put fluids in a car, or grown-up guys who can't decide on clothing or how to cook. Yes, there are things that my wife does better and things that only I do, but we've all had to learn somewhere. There is no task that is magically assigned to any gender or type or age. There's a first for everything, and if you don't at least try, then you'll never be able to. Somebody replied, I've never seen someone's jaw hit the floor so hard as my marriage counselors when I said, I'm a grown-ass man. I can do dishes and laundry when it's needed around the house. But with laundry I draw a line at delicates. If it's possible for me to launder it incorrectly, I don't touch it. I see how much my wife spends on bras. Nope, she can decide how to properly wash them and take care of them. Apparently it's common for many husbands to weaponize incompetence to get out of contributing to the household, thus a very one-sided contribution to chores and running a house. The axe forgets what the tree remembers. Be kind with your words and be careful with your temper. People will remember your throwaway comments. Don't forget to date your spouse. It doesn't always have to be big or flashy like a fancy dinner or something either. Just do things fairly often that let her know you're with her because you love her and not out of convenience. If she cheats on her boyfriend for you, she will cheat on you with the next guy. I had a friend in college who cheated on his girlfriend with a girl who was cheating on her boyfriend. They both broke up and then he started dating her. He was floored when she cheated on him, a bumbling, sobbing mess. Paul, what did you think would happen? I hope you found this advice thought-provoking. If you have any of your own you want to share, let us all know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed, subscribe for more daily videos.